CU vs CU. Contempt stage. Hello,
Hello,
boys. We are
everyone. We
already
are
live.
live
So,
and we are live
are we live
and
right now?
welcome everyone
Yeah.
to another edition of CU reactions. This time
Yeah.
for the India versus Pakistan cricket match that we just witnessed at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. Uh, the greatest rivalry, apparently. So that's how they had advertised it. Kriska, would you agree with that? They call it the greatest rivalry and they play
I
one match
am.
in 2 years and then one match probably in 4 years in another format and they
And
still call
it's
it the greatest rivalry. I don't think it's the
Amazing.
greatest rivalry in sport anymore. The greatest
last.
rivalry just got over like a couple of months back in England, and Australia still retained the Ashes, and England won the moral Ashes, right? Yeah, so that's the greatest rivalry. So let's come back to this. We'll talk about what went through. I think India had a dominant display. They just, showed what they are capable of, what this team is made of, and they didn't really show any sort of nerves that they probably showed last time when they faced each other. I guess even before the Asia Cup, right? So last time they faced each other in a world tournament and got beaten by Pakistan in a 2020 World Cup. I think that's the last one I remember, like 152 for no loss. Rizwan and Babar chasing down India's target,
Yeah,
and yeah, so I think India this time were simply brilliant in all departments. Absolutely no complaints whatsoever. You can still nitpick and find out performance issues in one player or the other, but then there are probably there's always room for improvement. But yeah, go ahead, Dave. What do you think?
up to you, man.
Dave.
Yeah, so just before Chris interjects and gives his opinion, I will say that Pakistan team has a very good bowling lineup, but the batting lineup is entirely dependent on Rizwan and Babar. So I can tell you, I and VS were watching the match live, okay? And as soon as Bauer got out, I told him that the Pakistan team is going to go through a collapse, which is what they did. So once they lost once they lost Babar around like 150, we both knew that they're going to collapse within the next 50 to 100 runs, which is exactly what they did. So it just goes to show that their batting lineup is much worse than their bowling lineup. Like the bowling lineup is incredible, as we have established across the last 1 or 2 years of their international performances. But if you are not putting up enough runs in the board, bowling lineup is not going to help you much, right? So you have essentially three batsmen who are reliable. You have Rizwan, you have Babar, and you have Iftikhar, and that's it, pretty much.
Hey, that's still one more than the Australian middle order. So
True.
We'll talk about it very soon, Chris, the Australian middle order. But yeah, but what a delivery to get rid of Iftikhar, right? Like, I almost thought when I was watching it live, I almost thought that he actually got around his legs, Kuldeep Yadav, but there was a slight edge. I think it hit the batsman's glove while he was trying to sweep. So I think you are very right about the fact that it's a over-reliant batting lineup on two or three folks. And I
Exactly.
don't know if someone like Fakar Zaman or someone would have made a difference at the top, given the way he has performed in the past versus India
okay,
and also in major tournaments. Someone like that. Yeah, go for it, Chris.
I have a counter opinion here. Pakistan's approach to these tournaments have historically been, a fragile batting lineup with one or two who step up, and a bowling lineup that comes and clean does the cleanup job, right? So I wasn't particularly surprised to see Pakistan, actually fold for 200. They have done that in the past. They have done like they have been getting out for like 180, 210, whatnot, and Okay, so that was a classic boomer moment. Uh, okay, by the way, we have a contest going on amongst ourselves to figure out who's gonna do the most boomer things in a particular call. We had VS and they do something uh, right before.
Let's get back to the discussion, guys. Okay, come back to it,
Okay.
Kriska.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised at how toothless the bowling attack looked, right? Especially with Shaheen and uh, Harris Ruff and all. Like I expected a lot more from them, and even Australia had India on the ropes for the first 5 overs, right? Like 2 for 3. The fact that the Pakistani bowling lineup did nothing even remotely close was a surprise to me. But I guess 130,000 folks chanting, Jai Shri Ram, and not a single Pakistani supporter in the stadium, it all gets to you.
And I think it's probably the first time that Pakistan would have played in front of such a huge crowd. They might not have even witnessed such a huge crowd in the Boxing Day Test versus Australia
Yeah.
in any of the years in history, right? So, I mean, I don't think more than 50,000 people would watch the Boxing Day Test in the MCG unless England plays Australia. So, yes, Boxing Day is special at the MCG, but the crowd usually gets around 60, 70,
Gandalf.
or sometimes on
Gandalf
an average
with his
50.
mandatory Australia plug
Yeah.
in a
No, no.
conversation that
The
has
reason
nothing
why
to
I
do with
brought that up
Australia.
is because that's the only way the crowd, the capacity crowd can be achieved. Uh, by the stadiums being big. So the only other biggest stadium in the world is probably the MCG. That's why I brought that reference. So to get 100,000 people in, you need to have a 100,000 plus capacity stadium, and the Ahmedabad stadium is one such. And Pakistan played for the first time in front of such a stadium, capacity crowd, and probably that's the nerves that we saw.
VS, you want to give some opinions about the match you saw?
Yeah, so man, Khandalf, I'll tell you one thing. I saw Pakistan play a cricket match after some 6 7 years at the very least, and I'll tell you a few things. First of all, this dude Babar Azam, he really surprised me because the moment he stepped onto the field, he was middling almost every ball. The third ball he faced the third ball as if it was his 30th ball. He was mighty comfortable. He was middling every single ball he was facing, and he faced almost 54 balls, I guess. And till the 50th ball, there was just one single time in 50 balls where he missed the shot that he intended to play, and that was an almost LBW appeal. And yeah, that was the first time I saw this guy play live, and I must say, I was mighty impressed because he looked comfortable the moment he stepped onto the field. He did not take time settling in. So I thought Babar Azam was really impressive. And that comes from me being not having watched enough of cricket of late. But then I've been watching quite a bit since we started the channel and since the World Cup has started. But I saw good stuff, and I don't really like Pakistan to be honest, but I think I like Babar Azam.
It's also true to the fact that the entire Pakistani batting lineup, right? It's entirely made up of Babar Azam and Rizwan. Okay, so unless like one of their top order batsmen like Imam ul Haq gets going, which is something which I have a problem with in Imam ul Haq's game. He gets good starts, but he does not really convert them, which is what happened in this game as well. He scored close 30 something close to that number, but he did not really convert it into a big score. Had there been no Babar Azam or Rizwan for that matter, they would have perished between 100 runs. It's a big problem that Pakistani batting lineup has. Their bowling lineup is comparable to any uh, top bowling lineup in the world, but their batting lineup is not good enough.
I mean, look,
to
we can blame the Pakistani batting lineup as much as we want, but as they say, credit to the Indian bowlers. They just
Yeah.
kept the line tight after the first few overs. They just pulled back their lengths. They overpitched a few deliveries, which was when they were like checking their shots, and Imamul Haq really scored a couple of boundaries. They
Yeah.
just were about to get going, and that's when very intelligently Siraj and Bumrah and these folks pull their lengths back a bit, and bowl straight, as they say, stick to the basics, and then bowl stump to stump line, you'll get the wickets and target that top of the off stump, which they did. It was almost like a net
Yeah.
session for Bumrah
Bumrah
and
was
Siraj.
excellent in that,
Yeah,
right?
Bumrah and Siraj, they were like doing their net sessions, targeting the top of off stump, hit that both times, and then that was like crazy. Like Rizwan was shocked, as if he didn't know what went through. Uh, I mean, even the best batter in the Pakistani side, the ball just went through the gate. So
Gandalf, I think we're all distracted by some comments that have been making the rounds. I have no idea who Savvy Techie is. Why are you laughing as if Australia won, Chris? They got hooked. I'll tell you why I'm
Chris,
laughing.
let's
Pakistan,
go through the comments, right?
yeah, like a lot of them, man. Look at this. Anti-Indian Chris Beliepo. It basically means get out for Dev and
anti-Indian Chris
PS.
get lost, get out, fuck off. If we were talking in unpolite terms.
Is this why you are late? You had to create a fake account.
No, no, like guys, since we are like actually casually discussing without a preset template and without abiding by the rules, Khandalf, I just wanted to tell you that I saw this video today, okay, and it really, really made me crack up. The video was about some random dude whose name I do not know and do not care enough to know. He was interviewing Shardul Thakur, Lord Shardul. So this dude asked Shardul Thakur, okay, man, like how is it that you that you bowl an off swinger? And man, Shardul Thakur tells this dude, this is how I hold the ball. And he's holding a seam, like he's holding both the fingers on his seam. This is how I hold the ball always, and I throw the ball like this. Whatever happens, that I do not know, but the good thing is the batsman does not know either. And man, I really, really found it surprising to believe that a guy who actually told that this is how I always bowl, and whatever happens after I release the ball is God's will. He's playing for Indian cricket, and he got overs against Pakistan. So I think we're living in crazy times, and I'm glad that we are back to watching cricket. And I thank you guys for introducing
I
me.
So
think I
I
think Dave, you
there
need to watch
there's a
more of
reason why.
Shardul Thakur.
Khandal, 1 second, okay. I will just interject here for 30 seconds. There's a reason why Shardul Thakur did not bowl a lot of overs in this match.
He's still in the squad, man.
Khandal, go on, go on.
Yeah, no, I was saying,
Excuse
they,
me, I'm not.
PS, you should watch more of Shardul Thakur. You'll
Yeah,
understand why
exactly.
he's so much talked about, because none of the fans, I mean, none of the Indian cricket team fans understand why he gets those crucial breakthroughs and hits those crucial runs when it matters. And no one knows why he's so successful. Like, I mean, why he's at least talked about. It's a country of 1 billion people where, easily a
Yeah,
certain
exactly.
significant percentage of people play good cricket in the state level and the ground grassroots levels. And for someone like him, he's definitely not bits and pieces. That's what I also thought about him when he actually, broke into the scene. Like
See,
Sadul Thakur, he can do a bit of bowling, do a bit of batting. He can
he's
move around a bit.
basically
That's all.
Ben
Yeah.
Stokes light, right? So with some
Yeah.
consistency, we'd be talking about him the same breath as. Okay,
See, I
Perfectly.
would
you
consider
both are
it
son.
as an insult to Ben Stokes if you compare him with Shardul Thakur. Okay, Ben Stokes is an elite cricketer, whether he is bowling or batting. I would say.
No, I would agree. Probably Shardul Thakur is probably, I don't know, he's probably somewhere like the dibbly dobbly bowlers that used to be in the 90s, like the medium pacers who can bat a bit,
Yeah,
like somewhere like Craig McMillan, or someone like that who can also pick up useful wickets. Chris Cairns,
exactly.
those kinds. So probably I would probably put that into that category. Ben Stokes has probably moved into a zone of his own. He's probably in the big league. We don't speak of him much, but he's probably in the big league, also because of his very brave captaincy, right?
Khandalf, I must say that I was pleasantly surprised, and I thought it was pretty wholesome that a dude who was as honest and truthful as him play in the Indian cricket squad, very well knowing that India being a country of what 1.7 billion people and most of them being addicted to cricket, pick this dude. I mean, he's obviously a good bowler and decent batsman, which
Yeah.
is why he's in this team in the first place. But I thought, in this era where everything that goes to the public, that goes to the press, is curated by PR and marketing staffs like Kriska, the one we have over here, he was not following dialogues. He was not following a script. He was not telling that his PR team asked him to say. He was being very honest, and I thought that was very refreshing, and I thought that was very, very wholesome.
Also, one other thing, right? Like, when, uh, okay, I'm lost my train of thought. My bad.
Fuck it.
Okay, so in that case, let me come back and intersect. You have
Uh,
uh, somebody close to God in Bumrah, right? So he is what Sachin was for the Indian team in the 90s. Nobody ever would have thought something like this about a bowler and India. It's always been the Gangulis and Dravids and Sachins who have been, talked about in the same breath as, somebody supernatural, somebody bowling close to 90 miles per hour with this, really weird, unconventional accent. He's deadly. And you combine that with the accuracy of somebody like a Glenn McGrath, right? That guy is a machine. Like, he's he is basically Holland at this point. I don't know how he does it. Of course, I can see that taking a toll on him with all the injuries and everything. But when he's playing, like, when was the last time a bowler made you that happy who was from Asia, right? Especially a fast bowler.
Honestly, Chris, I will say this. This is the first time in any of the World Cups I've seen Indian team play where I'm more confident about the bowling lineup of Indian team rather than the batting lineup.
Exactly.
Because
We talked about it.
you can clearly see, okay, Bumrah is going to take a couple of wickets. Siraj is going to take a couple of wickets because Siraj has been the most improved fast bowler in the last decade or so, close to. So you know that Kumble is sorry. You know that what Bumrah is going to take a couple of wickets. You know you have Siraj who is going to take a couple of wickets. What Kuldeep has been in the form of his life, so he's going to take a couple of wickets. So I know for a fact that Indian team, if the bowling lineup is working properly, they're going to restrict the opposition batsmen in the next in 250 or 300 runs. The only difference is that Pakistani batsmen fell apart after the loss of Rizwan and Babar, which is something I can tell you that we were discussing while watching the match, that the only proper batsmen they have are Rizwan and Babar. Once they get out, it's going to be very simple for India to restrict them into a score line of 250. As we found out that once they got out, India managed to restrict them within the score of 200.
Yeah,
And
I
Krishna,
think
I'll be
it's
very
not
honest.
just
He says
India,
that
right?
we were discussing about Pakistan, India, Scotland, and shit. We weren't discussing. He was telling me that this is how it works, and I was listening, and I had no much idea. So, I mean, if he was talking such shit about football, I would obviously not put up with it. But since I did not know enough, I listened to him, and turns out he was pretty right. He did tell me that when Babar got out, the scoreline's definitely not gonna gross 220, and yeah, he was right.
No,
So
I think
it wasn't a
not just
discussion, it was
India,
more
right?
of a monologue, him telling and me listening.
Any team with a decent enough bowling lineup can really steamroll through this Pakistani batting lineup if they get rid of either Babar or Rizwan. It's not like a big puzzle of figuring out the Pakistani batting lineup. It's no one challenging enough in the middle overs if any of these guys are not around, right? So
Mandal
unless of course
indirectly just said
once in
that
a
your
blue moon,
opinion is very basic.
once in a blue moon, you will probably have one of them stand up, maybe hit a 70 odd or a 80 odd, like Shadab Khan can actually go for a 15 one odd match. But no one would actually make a consistent performance across the tournament to actually win it for Pakistan from
especially
a
in the
batting point
50
of view.
over game. They
Yeah,
simply don't have
exactly.
the
Yeah,
squad strength to sustain a 50 over match.
exactly. And
And
this is
they'll
something
be
which
there odd upsets, but not any against any top 5 side currently, unless
Yeah,
they're
and
bowling,
just bringing everyone's attention to one point. I think beginning of the tournament, we were discussing squads offline and online both. We had our opinions and assessments and prejudices, so to speak, against some of these squads. India being one, we did not really pin our hopes high on the Indian squad, and we said Australia really looked really good and amazing on paper. And we said South Africa is looking a little sketchy out there with totally unsettled players, middle order, Markram not fully in form, and things like that. Bauma's captaincy being a little okayish. But then right now, 1 week into the tournament, it's all topsy turvy. We have our forecast, our predictions, everything gone wrong, which is totally fine. But absolutely surprised by how it has turned out. Like Australia is totally in in the deep end of whatever trying to do. South Africa are really ahead, much ahead. India is actually looking the favorites at this point in time. I don't know whether they have peaked too early or they may peak later or be consistent
well,
across.
it is better to peak early than not peak at all.
Is Kriska wearing
Quote
an
the
Australia
legendary
jersey?
Yeah,
Dravid.
he is.
Kriska, next time you wear an Australia jersey, make sure that you have somebody wearing an Afghanistan jersey on your right side and Netherlands jersey on your left side, because that is where Australia is sandwiched in the tables point right now between Netherlands and Afghanistan, and these are not even full-time cricket playing nations. Get your priorities right, man. Stick to Barcelona.
We are very happy with
One
the
Yeah,
result of this match.
I
They
would
won.
seriously. Pakistan just bolstered the chances of Australia qualifying, and I'd
Exactly. So we
happily
want
bring
Pakistan to
somebody.
get beaten by India now, then get
And
beaten by England, get beaten by
yeah,
Bangladesh, get beaten by
and
everyone.
also Gandalf, I would happily bring an Afghanistan fan and a Netherlands fan and make them sit next to me for the next cricket episode we
yeah.
do, as long as VS can promise me he'll go to his basement and take the next football episode we do, because that is where his club is right now.
Brutal,
What I
bro.
will what I will say here is, just to go off on a tangent, small tangent actually. Pakistani bowling lineup is genuinely world class. Okay, and this is not the first time this has happened to them, where their batting lineup has failed their bowling lineup, where they know that, for example, their bowling lineup knows that ki anywhere close to 300 or 300 plus they can defend that total, but the batting lineup never gives them enough runs to defend that. So this has happened number of times across the last 1 year or so, where you can see that okay, you get out Babar, you get out Rizwan, you get out Iftikhar at max. Iftikhar is their only other reliable batsman apart from Babar and Rizwan. Imam ul Haq is good batsman, but he gets starts and he does not convert them, at least at a consistent level. So you can see that okay, if you get Babar and Rizwan out, fair enough, you can skittle Pakistani team out
See,
within
that's
250 runs
that's
or
that's been the
200
case
runs.
not just in the last couple of years, Dave. It's been the case for the last 2 decades or more, ever since Pakistan started playing this format or any other format for that matter. Their bowling lineup has always been legendary, and their batting lineup, despite having some of the batting greats in the past, has always centered around one or two key people like Inzamam or Yusuf or in that era, or even
Side of
before that
fading
Javed Miandad and
Misbah.
the middle order around that. Salim Malik and Javed Miandar around the
Yunus
80s,
Khan,
90s.
right?
Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah.
Yunus Khan, Yusuf, yeah, Yunus Khan, Yusuf, and Inzamam were in the late 90s and early, most of the 2000s, right? So I think it was always centered around a few people, but the only difference is that that legendary bowling lineup of the Pakistanis in the 90s and in the early 2000s, that could defend scores of even 250 or under. And sometimes their lineup had the confidence that they could bowl out teams within 150, even if they scored like 200 runs. Uh, Shoaib Akhtar or Wasim Akram or Wakar Yunis on their day can walk through any team on their own,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
don't
something
know.
which
For
is
some
probably missing in this
reason,
lineup. I wouldn't classify
yeah,
this as a legendary lineup. It's a world class lineup. It's a good
it's a
bowling side.
lethal lineup, but it's
Exactly.
not intimidating for some reason. I think
Yeah,
it's got
somebody
to
like
do.
India. It's not
None of them
intimidating for
have been
India
in
for sure.
form, I guess. They have the same problem that the Australian batting lineup has for now. Like they don't look threatening. You don't have that aura which did half the job, right? If a Pakistani bowler walked in, for example, who's this guy, Wahab Riaz, like you could sense that a wicket was just around the corner. For some reason, Shaheen is somebody who can do that, but they're misfiring. They've just not been able to, pull themselves up. Maybe it's the pressure of a World Cup. This is likely the first World Cup for most of them, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very young and inexperienced bowling
No,
lineup at an ICC tournament level. Yeah, maybe that is it. Cool. So, do you
uh,
think we can wrap up this unless you have any closing thoughts?
yeah, I will put up this question for all of you. What do you think was the key to India's win tonight? Was it India's good performance or Pakistan's bad performance? And I would like an opinion from each of you in
Me
that
too,
sense.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
obviously.
For me, it's
Was it
India's
Pakistan's bad
bowlers.
performance in batting, or was it India's good performance overall in the sense that they won the match within like a less number of overs, and they won it with
For me, it
like
was
six
India's
wickets, seven
bowling
wickets in
on
hand.
target. India's bowling was on target. I think that won half the match. It was almost over by the time a couple of wickets like that fell, like the Bumrah one and the Rizwan, sorry, and the Siraj one, where the stumps were hit in a very humiliating fashion in front of 130 plus thousand crowd. It's definitely something which will hit teams hard. They were never able to come back from that. So I think it was one there, almost over.
Um, VS, you want to add to this before I get to what
Yes,
I
go
think?
ahead, man.
you go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think it's no doubt India's bowling performance, man. That as well as Rohit Sharma's captaincy. So Rohit has really come through as a captain in this tournament, much more than what anyone would have expected. Because historically, um, he hasn't been that elite captain in 50 overs or ICC tournaments that he has been with Mumbai Indians. But the way that he has been bringing back his bowlers, be rotating them, or even the field setup today, right? For Siraj's the wicket that Siraj took. So undoubtedly, it is India's great doing more than Pakistan's undoing, because you also see the nature of dismissals. Like most cricketers in their prime were gonna get out for that, and I don't think Pakistan batsmen could have done anything different, right? So absolutely, I think Pakistan had an okay stay in the field, but India were just on a different level.
My turn, right?
VS, your turn.
Yeah, so I'll go with something very simple. I think India was clearly the better team and they won, nothing more. Because I would say India's, as far as I see it, India's bowling lineup is as good as Pakistan's, if not better. Siraj's a good bowler. He's like improved mightily. Bumrah, as we all know, as much as I hate seeing him bowl lengthy spells because of his weird action and his foot placement, it's very, am I allowed to say that? It's very it's not very aesthetically pleasing. Let's just say. I think Bumrah is an excellent bowler, and he has his specialties. So let's give credits to Pakistan team. Let's say that Indian bowling attack is on even terms with Pakistan bowling attacks. I would say it's better, but let's say it's on equal terms. But in the field, we have Virat Kohli and Ravindra Jadeja, and the batting lineup I think is incomparable. As good as I saw Babar Azam was, we have a Virat Kohli in our team. Our opener is Rohit Sharma, despite being whatever people accuse him to be. He's one of the most talented batsmen cricket has ever seen. The range of
Yeah,
shots that he plays,
he has
his
picked at the
ability to
perfect
play
time.
long innings, and his sheer destructive ability. I mean, this guy scored three triple centuries as such. Man, it's simply a better team, man. Like India are the better team than Pakistan's, and I mean no offense
Yeah.
when I say it. India are also the better funded team. BCCI is 10 times. 10 times is an understatement,
Yeah,
right?
10 times is an
BCCI
understatement.
is infinitesimally more richer than Pakistan Cricket Board, and India as a country has left Pakistan in shadow in every single metric of progression. So Pakistan, despite them having the talent, I would say that they are not at a level where where they compete on even terms with Indian cricket team. And I like to keep it simple. India were clearly the better team in bowling, in batting, on the field, and they won.
Yeah. Just to add on to what VS has said, I'll give my opinions on this match. I more or less agree with what he has said. But just the only thing I will say is ki, uh, if you do not give your world class bowling lineup a target to defend, they're not going to be able to defend that, right? So it does not matter if you have Nawaz, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf, it does not matter. All of these are like world class bowlers. But if you have like a 200 target to chase within 50 overs, obviously the teams who are chasing the target are going to find it easier to chase it, right? So I think that's what happened with Indian team. I am
Yeah.
still a bit sus about the Indian top order when they have to chase, say, like 350 runs in like 50 overs. I'm a bit sus about that. But I think that Rohit Sharma, along with the top order, Indian top order in general, grows a lot in confidence when they have like 250 or 200 to chase. So I think this became an easy chase
Yeah.
the moment Babar and Rizwan got out. So at that point of time, you knew that Pakistan are not going to post a challenging total. At
Yeah,
most, they will
that's spot on.
they'll post a total of
Yeah.
200 or
So,
250, somewhere around that margin.
couple of things here,
And
right?
India
So,
can chase that down within like with one hand
yeah,
tied behind
yeah,
their back.
that's
Yeah,
an excellent
Krishna, I'll
point.
just
So,
add some context to what he said. Okay, so as you can see, we were together. We were watching the match on my TV, and Babar Asam got out, and basically, I decided to take a dump. I went to the toilet. I came back. It was I see. I don't spend lengthy hours on the toilet. I don't watch movies when I'm sitting on the commode. Hardly 15 minutes, and the game was already over by then. I think that's how weak Pakistan's middle order is. And I mean, no disrespect when I say that. I think Babar and Rizwan are good players. Babar especially seemed really class. But miles and miles to go before they compete with India's prime team.
If I'm not wrong, they were like 150 for 2 at the end of like 27th or 28th over. Okay. Then they lost like 8 wickets in the next 30 runs, which is not something you would expect from an international team, so to speak.
cool. So, I think we have done two of these reactions, and India fans are delighted at the end of both of this. And I think this one we are neutral and we are
Yeah,
happy.
we'll keep a close watch on the net run rate.
Yeah,
I know
we are
it's
just
it's
happy.
good that Pakistan have gone into the negative net run rate
Yeah,
territory right now with this,
I
and
know.
hopefully
Like
we'll
being
catch up.
reliant on another team, man. For Australia to go through. What are we? RCB.
Man,
Yeah.
Australia fans are in a situation where they have to keep a watch over the net run rate to make sure they qualify for the knockoffs. Oh, how the turns have tabled. Tables have turned.
Tables up.
Tables have turned.
All right,
There's
guys.
this classic
Yeah,
meme, right? How the
let's
turntables.
We're closing. We're closing. All